Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Bottle Change Rider Series number 12, which is Kamen Rider Build Rabbit Tank Hazard Form and Rabbit Rabbit Armor and Tank Armor set. So quite a bit larger than your usual BCR figure set here, but you get the full figure of the Rabbit Tank Hazard Form, and then of course you get the two different sets of armor because in the show he always transforms into Hazard and then uses the full Rabbit Tank bottle to, get these two different armor sets. So I think it's pretty cool. The packaging, very bright and colorful. As you can see, you got everything going on here. Rabbit form taking kind of center stage, and then the Hazard form and the Tank form over here, and then the two figures down here. So very neat. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Here are the two figures here on the side. And I guess I shouldn't say the two figures because it's one figure with two armors. So you can only have one at a time. But you can see the packaging kind of extends onto the side over here. Pretty basic there on the back or on the bottom. You have the three, well, I guess it just says mask, spring tank. Alright. As you wish. But here is the Hazard form, and then of course here are the other two forms here. And it shows the other figures that are available and the different combinations you can do with them. I do have to say the Rabbit Change, the gimmick has kind of gotten away from the line, but it's just the show has kind of evolved past that, so kind of understandable. So let's go ahead, let's get these guys out of the packaging here so we can take a closer look. Alright, so as you can see, there is a ton of stuff in this box. First, we're going to concentrate on the Rabbit Tank Hazard form. It's pretty basic, as you'd expect, just because it's all black. But you can see you have the Rabbit Tank bottles here with the Hazard trigger, all very nicely painted. I think they did a pretty excellent job with that. Obviously, the figure is mostly black, but you have the little bit of accents here. You kind of have that high collar. I like the spikes back here behind the eyes. I think that looks pretty cool. But yeah, he is mostly all black. He does have standard articulation for these figures, kind of out to the side and front to back for the hips, thighs swivel 90 degrees at the knee, ball joint the ankle, no waist swivel and no head swivel because of the gimmick. Shoulders out to the side and around, biceps swivel 90 degrees in the elbow, wrist swivel, and then two sets of fingers. Like I just said, he does have the gimmick still, so you can press this in and separate this into two halves. I don't know why you would, because that's not really a thing that you can do. I mean, if they were going to make a bunch of different Hazard forms, then you could, mix and match the eyes, but I don't know. I don't really see mixing like half of a Hazard form with, say, like the normal Tank form. So I'm not going to bother showing you guys a bunch of different combinations with these. You know the drill by now. And in my mind, it just doesn't really make sense to separate the Hazard form, but you can do it. That functionality is still there. So if you want to mix and match him with the other forms, you can go right ahead and do that. But yeah, I like the Hazard form. I think it looks good. The all black with the eyes, very nicely painted and everything. Very cool. But there's not a whole lot to say about it. It is just mostly black. But of course we have the Rabbit and Tank armors, which I think is pretty cool. Before we get into those though, you can see we get both versions of the Full Bottle Buster. And this thing is massive. I think they did a great job with this. Yes, they did hollow it a little bit on the back, but it still feels pretty weighty. I mean, it's a pretty heavy accessory. It's kind of hard to see because it's all black, but it does have 4 full bottles molded in here, which I think is pretty neat. And then, of course, this is the sword mode. So if you had a customizer who was good at painting on black, and you could actually paint the 4 different bottles, I think you could make this thing look pretty cool because all the detail is there. It's just molded out of one solid piece of plastic. And then, of course, you also get the gun mode, which, truth be told, is not that different. It's just the handle being pushed down. But again, it does have 4 bottles loaded in, which I think is pretty cool. And it is a little hollow on the back. But I really do think if they didn't hollow it out, it would be so heavy that I don't know if the figure could hold it, to be quite honest. Just to show you, popping this in, it's pretty heavy. It's a pretty large accessory. It makes him very Like, you have to kind of tilt him back a little bit. But it looks good. I mean, he's going to look good wielding it. And if you can figure out how to get it done, you can also hold this handle up here. So maybe for the gun mode, I can figure out how to get a pose where he can hold it with both hands. But we'll figure that out in a minute. Let's go ahead and get into one of these two armors because they're pretty cool. I'm going to just kind of push all the tank stuff off to the side for the moment, and we will check out the rabbit form. So you get these two shoulder, or I guess forearm pads that are identical. As far as I can tell, they are not different in any way. They have little pegs, as you can see, and so he's got little peg holes on the forearms. So you just kind of peg these in. Nothing super exciting there, but it works. I think it's very functional. You just have to line up the peg hole, which I'm pretty extraordinarily bad at doing. Not really sure why, but once you get it on there, it does stay very well. So as you can see, he's got his forearms. So we'll come down now to the shins. Now you can see these are kind of a little tilted. So I feel like one is the left one and one is the right one. So you want to kind of put them so that they're kind of tilted like that. And then they just kind of go on to the forearms. You can kind of see how there's like a little notch right there and a little notch right there. And that's how you can tell you want... Oh, maybe I've been putting these on wrong. Oh, maybe I have. Alright, so you want to slide those, and you can kind of, they'll line up and they'll find their space. And so they just kind of push on once they find their grooves. And the insides, and I know you can't see this at all, but the insides have little groove spots as well. So that's how you can tell how to put them on. I think I was putting them on wrong, which is probably why I was having difficulty. So there we go. Once they go on, and they stay on pretty darn well, I have to say. So the next thing you have to do is take this driver off, because excellent attention to detail. They give you a new driver. See if I can get him to stand for a minute. They give you a driver that has the hazard driver and the full rabbit tank bottle. Now they give you two, and as far as I can tell, they are identical, so I don't really know. It would be one thing if like this one had red paint inside and this one had a little bit of blue paint in those windows. Would have been a nice touch. I understand why it didn't happen, but then I also feel like then why bother to give me two? Because, you know, I can't display both forms at the same time. So, I don't know. But you have an extra in case you lose it or something. So then you just go ahead and pop this one on instead. Why are you not popping on? There we go. So now you have your... Why is it not? There we go. Just being stupid. Okay, so now we got the correct driver on with the full rabbit tank bottle. Then you take the big armor piece, kind of lift the head back. This kind of unclicks, and then you just kind of put this over the head. The armor clicks around down here. And it kind of loosely connects together. There we go. And then you have, I love the big rabbit ears in the back. I think that's a really cool touch. Alright, so we'll zoom in here so you can check this out. Then this just flips over. Boom. And it really does contour to the head very nicely and very tightly. They did a great job with that. And here we go. We have rabbit form. And I think it looks pretty darn good. I really do like it. The armor actually adheres very nicely to the body. It stays on. It looks great. I mean, yeah, it's a little open here on the back, but that really doesn't bother me. I love these kind of like ear pieces, and they can pop out, but if they do, you just pop them right back in. It's not a big deal. Now with the shoulder pads, they have movement like this. That's really all they can do. So, you know, you can move the arms around still, but you might have to move that depending on how you want to do that. But if you could still just use the elbow bends. So say, for example, I guess, does he use a sword more in rabbit form? I guess it doesn't really matter. So you could get him the full bottle buster. And he's ready to go. if I use the gun, see if I can get a two-handed pose here. See, with the shoulder pads, it might be a little difficult to do. It would probably be difficult to do no matter what. But you can, whoops, I popped this off. Now I'm just breaking everything. So yeah, it's a little difficult to do. But if you're better at posing figures than I am, which I'm sure you are, because I'm pretty terrible at it, you could probably do a better job than me. And hopefully you won't pop this forearm armor off. But it pops right back on. And that's the nice thing. I mean, the pieces pop off, but you can pop them right back on. And overall, I like this. It's very colorful. It's very nicely painted. I think it looks great. I think they did a really nice job with this as add-on armor. I think they did a really good job. So let's go ahead. I'll take this all off and we'll take a look at the tank form. Alright, so we'll go ahead and start bringing in the tank pieces. Now, on the show, I think on the show there's a way for like the armor to go together and form a tank. Unfortunately, that's not possible here, so I wish it was, but I understand why it's not. This is going to connect on the exact same way as the other forearm armor did. Just peg it in. If I can find the hole. Okay, there we go. I believe I have that pegged in correctly. Then we'll bring in the leg pieces. Now I would assume it goes like this, correct? Yeah, there we go. It is funny. I would definitely think it would go the other way, but it's definitely meant to go like this. That's how the notches go. All right, and then we bring in the tank shoulder pieces. Oh, I see. There's actually, and I should have pointed this out, but I didn't actually realize it until just now. And then flip this over top. And there we go. There is the tank form. I like this form a lot. I mean, one, it's a lot of giant guns, and two, it's all blue, which is my favorite. But I should have pointed out here, I'll show it here. There's these two tabs, or two pegs, and they peg into the back, and that's how it stays so tight to the back, and then you close this down over top. So I apologize that I didn't show that off. But he's got these big tank treads here for the back, which I think looks really cool. I love the head sculpt on this. The blue and the gold looks fantastic. So another very awesome form. And he's got the same shoulder deal, so you can, if you want to move the arms a little bit, you can just kind of position them up. I love how they're little tanks with cannons and tank treads and everything. I think that's fantastic. So this is definitely my favorite of the two. I am a little biased because it's all blue, but I also think the tank is just really, really cool. So I love this form. Very, very, very awesome. And again, he can hold the weapons if you wish to put them in his hands. And I don't know why every single time I put a weapon in, I have to make a piece of forearm armor fall off, but apparently that's the deal for me. So yeah, I mean, as all these rider figures are, the weapons are a little wonky just because of how the hands work. But overall, I think it looks really, really cool. I appreciate them giving us both forms of the weapon, and they're pretty massive weapons, which is nice. But I love this. I like both forms, don't get me wrong. But I think this one's definitely my favorite. Let's see if I can get this guy. There we go. Really, really cool. I think this is a really cool set. I really think they did a nice job with this. I like getting the Rabbit Tank Hazard form because that played a big role in the show. And then, of course, because he does go from that form into the Tank and Rabbit Tank form, Tank and Rabbit forms, it's nice that, just like on the show, he puts on the armor when he's already in the Hazard form. So it's very show accurate. It's really fun. I think they did a great job. The pieces all connect on very nicely. And for the most part, they stay connected as long as you don't, like, if you're like me and you're trying to fiddle with it and you accidentally pop a piece off. But everything is meant to come apart and go right back together. So if anything falls off, You can always pop it right back on, no problems whatsoever. I really like the set. I really do. If I had to nitpick, something, I would say not sure why they gave us. I appreciate getting the hazard form and then the full rabbit tank bottle form. I do appreciate having these two, but to give us two of these, I don't really see why. I would have rather had them keep this and maybe add like a small paint application, or if they were going to give us two, have one have like red on the bottle and one have blue on the bottle so that it made sense. I understand they have only a certain amount of paint apps, but if you're going to give us two, make them different. There's no reason to give me two that are exactly the same, because why? It doesn't make sense. I appreciate that we got both versions of the weapon. I think that's nice. Yeah, I really like this set. I don't really have too much to complain about. Like I said, small nitpicky things. I also think it doesn't make sense to have the hazard form be able to come apart into the two pieces. I understand that is the gimmick of the Bottle Change Rider series, but like I said kind of earlier in the video, we've kind of moved past that because it doesn't really make sense anymore. Because these more advanced forms don't get mixed and matched with different bottles. Like if they were going to do a bunch of different hazard forms and then have just the hazard forms mix and match, I guess that would make sense. But I don't really see them doing any more hazard versions unless they're going to be premium Bandai or something. But I can't see buying premium Bandai sets just for different color eyes. I mean, that's just me personally. But I would have rather just had this be a solid figure that had head articulation or waist articulation, because you don't need the come apart gimmick for this. Now, to be fair, the way the helmets go on for these two, the head articulation doesn't really make sense, so I guess I get it in that regard. But again, this is me just nitpicking tiny little things. Overall, I think it's a great set. I definitely recommend picking it up. You get 3 nice forms with all the different armors and everything like that, so I really enjoy it. But let me know what you guys think. Please tell me in the comments below. I'd like to hear from you guys. Please like and share the video. Please subscribe. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at BCR-12 Kamen Rider build Rabbit Tank Hazard Form and Rabbit Armor and Tank Armor set. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a great set. Definitely recommend picking it up. So let me know what you guys think. Like and share the video. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.